Last time we touched on the birth of the vehicle performance package, better known as the A9X. Holden faced a monumental challenge, churning out 250 road registered beasts in record time just to hit the tracks. But how exactly did this audacious project transform from a mere concept into a racing icon? Get ready, because the story of the legendary A9X was far from straightforward, so let's dig in. Holden had embarked on this race against time and needing to rapidly test and produce a minimum of 250 road registered vehicles. This vigorous CAMS or Confederation of Australian Motorsport homologation requirement was crucial for the A9X to be eligible to compete at the Bathurst 1000 in October. Simply put, the A9X's primary goal was to systematically address and rectify every weakness of its predecessor, the L34. HDT boss Harry Firth spearheaded this initiative by constructing a prototype LX hatchback that incorporated all the necessary racing improvements over the L34. The responsibility then fell to Holden's chassis engineer Ray Borrett and his team to meticulously integrate these race and road requirements into a cohesive road registrable production package. This would also be Ray Borrett's final project before his return to the US, to result in Holden's finest car to date. It was in May 1977 the Sunbird hatchback made its debut, which also coincided with radial tuned suspension being integrated into the 6-cylinder and V8 Torana models, resulting in a significant improvement in their performance and handling compared to the earlier versions. Within 18 months of the LX launch, Holden's entire vehicle range, from the Gemini to the Statesman, benefited from radial tuned suspension, with the previously criticised braking system also being finally rectified. Then in June 1977, conceived by David Bones of Recaro Australia and journalist Rob Luck, came the Torana Mystère concept, aimed at an exotic, high-performance coupe with a European feel and being based on the Holden LX Torana SS hatchback. With the assistance of designer Peter Arcadipane, famous for his work on the Mad Max Interceptor, crafted its radical styling featuring a Monza-style shovel nose, aggressive flares and a significantly shortened cam tail. You know what that is. Underneath, it used a standard 5-litre Holden V8, an M21 4-speed manual, enhanced with uprated suspension. Its luxurious interior boasted Recaro's top-tier seats in unique green leather, plus rare features like electric windows and air conditioning. Then in August 1977, the Mystère debuted to acclaim at the Sydney International Motor Show, with plans for a limited production run and at around $17,500. However, only one prototype was built. Its demise was due to Holden discontinuing the Torana V8, a shift in Recaro's priorities and insurmountable challenges like securing a warranty and reducing high production costs from its custom interior. While never produced, its styling lived on as the Taipan body kit, leaving the Mystère as an intriguing piece of Australian automotive history. Also in August 1977, Holden's performance vehicle package, or option A9X, was introduced as an option for both the SLR 5000 and 5-litre SS models, and just in time for Sandown. Unlike regular Toranas, the A9X received no publicity, instead being quietly released into dealer showrooms nationwide. The fact that the A9X was arguably the best Holden ever and unquestionably the finest Torana to date went unmentioned. Although never officially confirmed, this low-key launch may have been a tactic to avoid a repeat of the supercar scare incident of 1972, caused by politicians and motoring journalists alike. Regardless, the A9X had a singular purpose: Mount Panorama. As a side note, the A9X designation was simply one of a series of codes exclusive to Holden with a prefix A, similar to Chevrolet Z prefixes, for example the Camaro Z28. Starting in September 1977, the A9X option became available for all SLR 5000 and 5-litre SS models. The time was no coincidence, as production commenced with the clear goal of preparing these vehicles for Sandown and the Bathurst 1000. While its road-going engine was a standard L31 5-litre V8, the Holden Torana A9X introduced significant mechanical upgrades over the earlier L34 race car. These improvements were crucial for racing homologation, addressing the L34's weaknesses. The A9X race cars utilised a blueprinted L34 specification 5-litre V8, which was a highly tuned version of the L31, specially prepared for competition. Teams were still allowed to use the L34 because the engine was previously homologated for competition with the LH series. It delivered around 400 horsepower and featured numerous durability upgrades, as requested by Firth, such as thicker cylinder blocks, stronger camshafts and crankshafts, and forged pistons. The most distinctive new feature was a rear-facing, bonnet-mounted carburetor induction scoop. This innovative design took advantage of the low pressure zone at the base of the windscreen, providing excellent airflow. This also allowed race teams to fit a cold air box to further reduce inlet temperature, a key request from Harry Firth to boost power and unique to the A9X. To effectively address the L34's known overheating issues in competition, the A9X, both in its road form and race form, received several crucial cooling system upgrades. A new heavy-duty radiator fitted alongside a coolant overflow recovery system to improve thermal management. Furthermore, the problematic belt-driven fan, notorious for its powertrain and tendency to throw fan belts during aggressive downshifts, was replaced. The A9X's primary engine modification was to switch to an electric cooling fan, a change that significantly enhanced reliability and contributed to better power delivery by eliminating parasitic losses. While most A9Xs came with a single thermostatically controlled Davis-Craig electric fan, some cars equipped with dealer-optioned air conditioning featured twin electric fans. The road-going L31 5-litre V8 produced 161 kilowatts or 216 horsepower, whereas the race-prepared A9X L34 5-litre V8 pushed 261 kilowatts or 350 horsepower to 298 kilowatts or 400 horsepower. The performance was heavily influenced by the engine's tuning parameters. All road-going A9X cars were equipped with the M21 4-speed gearbox, which was shared with the L31. However, for racing, Holden cleverly secured approval to use the much stronger Borg-Warner MC7 T10 by cheekily listing it as a factory option, code MC7. Although technically a dealer option, the MC7 T10 was exclusively for racing. This was because it required a different clutch, tail shaft, gear shaft mechanism and a new gear stick location. To fit the T10 shifter, a section of the Torana's transmission tunnel had to be cut out and replaced with a special factory supplied adapter plate or blister, which was then welded into place. Every A9X Torana sold to the public left the assembly line in a consistent basic specification with its L31 engine, while race enthusiasts often picture the A9X with an L34 engine, MC7 T10 gearbox, roll cage, wide wheels and long range fuel tanks. No A9X ever departed the factory in such a competition ready state. It also offered great performance thanks to its light 1.2 tonne curb weight and impressive power to weight ratio. The A9X was equipped with a heavy duty Salisbury 10 bolt rear axle, a substantial improvement over the L34's fragile Banyo unit. This robust differential derived from the Holden 1-tonner and adapted with shortened HZ GTS axle tubes and shafts, required a revised rear floor pan and relocated control arms for its integration into the car's chassis. Road-going A9X models typically came with a 308:1 differential ratio, whereas the Bathurst race specials were geared with a 260:1 ratio to maximise their speed on the legendary Conrod Straight. Although based on the RTS-equipped LX SLR 5000 sedan and SS 5-litre hatchback, thanks to engineer Ray Borrett, the A9X featured a significantly redesigned system unique to the model and never used in any other vehicle. This was a major departure from standard production setups with auto geometry and pickup points. The innovation lay in optimising the suspension for racing. When the car was lowered for competition, it maintained ideal camber, caster and toe changes, ensuring peak performance and handling. New rear suspension pickup points and additional differential clearance were achieved via a special floor patch, which was welded into the LX floor pan during production. This brings us to the infamous debate surrounding the A9X Torana's floor pan. From my research, the A9X featured a special LX floor pan, not a UC floor pan, nor even a UC patch, as sometimes is quoted, which was fitted to a standard LX floor pan. There was a unique A9X specific part, entirely distinct from the UC component. The UC rear floor pan is in fact completely different from the LX's, with variations in parts, floor heights, spare wheel locations and fuel tank setups. This means that although the A9X used an LX floor pan, it included modified patch sections which allowed for the fitment of the Salisbury differential and the T10 Borg-Warner transmission. This specific design was later integrated into the UC production model as a single uninterrupted rear floor pan, facilitating the use of a Salisbury differential in the UC, though the UC only used the smaller 6-cylinder Salisbury, not the larger V8 variant found on the A9X. Unique to the A9X, the steering rack assembly was solidly mounted to the cross member, a design choice that significantly improved feedback by eliminating the previous rubber mounts and rivaling the legendary XU1 steering quality. The A9X was given 4-wheel disc brakes. This was a significant feature, making the A9X the first Holden ever to be fitted with rear disc brakes as standard. This was a major upgrade from the previous Torana models, which as we know used rear drum brakes. The road car used Holden HX front disc brake assemblies with 276mm or approximately 10-inch vented rotors and single piston calipers. Its rear brakes featured HZ GTS setups with 293 or approximately 11-inch solid rotors and single piston calipers. This was fairly unusual setup for a production car, as typically the larger discs are found on the front where most of the braking force is generated and under deacceleration. However, for the A9X, this configuration was part of its highly optimised racing homologation, aiming for maximum braking performance and heat dissipation across the four wheels, which was a significant advancement for Holden at the time. For competition, the A9X's braking system received significant upgrades. Race A9Xs featured specialised racing hardware, including much thicker ventilated rotors and multi-piston calipers for enhanced stopping power and fade resistance. To complement the new braking system, a new PBR master cylinder with an integral proportioning valve and plastic reservoir was fitted. The introduction of rear disc brakes was a monumental improvement, directly addressing the previous model's tendency for rear drum brakes to lock under heavy braking, providing vastly superior modulation, heat dissipation and fade resistance for increased stability and control. Visually, the A9X resembled the L34 optioned LH model, but added a distinctive reverse-facing bonnet scoop covering a large cutout. Also included were large fiberglass wheel arch flares, where the front were carried over from the L34, while the rear were made wider to accommodate larger tyres and racing wheels. The front spoiler, also an L34 component, was updated with brake cooling ducts, a key modification absent from the regular LX SLR 5000 smaller front spoilers, highlighted the A9X's dedicated performance focus. While the sedan retained the L34 spoiler, the hatchback featured a new 3-piece bobtail design, which significantly improved its functionality and aerodynamics, especially in generating downforce at high speeds. The Torana A9X road car was a bare-bones homologation special, easily distinguished from the standard LX models by these visual additions, and designed by Holden's Leo Pranu for competition. Road-going A9X models were equipped with 14x6 steel rally wheels, often referred to as HQ GTS style, notable for a unique offset specially engineered to fit within the car's wider wheel arches and accommodate its beefier suspension and braking components. This offset was crucial for optimising the car's handling and scrub radius, and fitted with suitable road-legal radial tyres of the era. In stark contrast, competition A9Xs utilised a variety of lightweight one-piece or composite racing wheels, typically up to 10 inches wide, shod with much broader slick racing tyres to maximise the contact patch and ensure ultimate grip and performance on the track. The specific type and brand of racing wheel, e.g. Mini Light or Simmons etc., and tyre would often vary between different race teams and their suppliers. Minor cabin revisions to the 5-litre SS and SLR 5000 models included raising existing Torana full foam bucket seats for better forward vision. Also, to save weight, the radio and centre console were deleted. However, customers could choose dealer-fitted options like air conditioning, a sunroof or a window demister. The standard A9X was fitted with a 55-litre fuel tank, but race cars often featured custom-made bladder-filled aluminium fuel tanks, effectively doubling their capacity for longer stints at Bathurst. These drop tanks were mounted below the boot floor, which not only lowered the car's centre of gravity for optimal handling, but also maximised weight over the rear wheels for improved traction. Every aspect of the A9X was purpose-built, almost over-engineered. For instance, the front spoiler featured special vents that directed cool air directly onto the front calipers, effectively reducing brake fade. A total of 405 A9X Toranas were sold to the public, 305 4-door sedans and 100 2-door hatches. Additionally, 52 GMP and A, or General Motors parts and accessories, basically just shells, were produced specifically for competition, comprising, funnily enough, 11 sedans and 41 hatches. Using the GMP and A system, Holden could cheekily supply empty shells to racing teams under the guise of parts and accessories. These competition GMP and A shells came without engines or gearboxes. The floor didn't even have cutouts for the gear shift. Modifications were necessary to the floor pan to fit the T10 gearbox, with special blister patches available to race teams for this purpose. Another interesting fact was the A9X was not marketed as a standalone model, but rather as a performance equipment package, option A9X, for the LX Torana SS 5-litre and SLR 5000. Despite this marketing approach, its extensive list list of modifications generally qualify it as a distinct model in its own right, and contrary to some popular belief, the A9X was in fact a slow seller upon its release, with an initial palette of available colours that were not universally appreciated, such as the likes of Palais White, Panama Green, Flamenco Red, Ultra Blue, Jasmine Yellow, Valencia Orange and Dynasty Gold. However, more exterior colours would become available as running changes after the A9X's initial release in August 1977. It's also a common misconception that all A9X 4-door models featured silver outlining the paint out, the recessed, often blacked out area on the rear spoiler. In reality, both silver and black were used for this detail, with the choice often depending on the vehicle's original body colour. Retail prices for the A9X were $10,600 Australian dollars for the 4-door sedans, and funnily enough, $10,800 for the 2-door hatchbacks. All A9X Toranas for public sale were compliant between August 1977 and December 1977, with one solitary exception compliant in January 1978. On September 11, 1977, the new Holden A9X had faced an incredible tight deadline, hitting the track for the Hang 10 400 at Sandown Park just 10 days after production began. Despite being rushed into competition, Peter Brock drove the Bill Patterson Racing A9X hatchback to a remarkable dream debut victory, a testament to the car's potential and Brock's skill. The A9X's initial victory at Sandown, though a win, wasn't a true measure of its strength, as the dominant Moffat Ford dealer team Falcons encountered significant issues due to a terminal engine failure. Despite these setbacks at Sandown, the Moffat team rebounded strongly as anticipated at Mount Panorama 3 weeks later, where they decisively overwhelmed the then underdeveloped Toranas to secure a victory for the Falcons. Alan Moffat and Colin Bond's Ford XC Falcons achieved a legendary 1-2 formation over a lap ahead of the leading Torana. This crushing defeat left Holden executives reeling, as only the Peter Jansen and Larry Perkins A9X managed a third-place podium finish, solidifying Ford's dominant victory at the Mount. Peter Brock, co-driving with Phil Brock in the Bill Patterson Racing A9X hatchback, finished in 4th position. In essence, 1977 was a year of mixed fortunes for the A9X. While it showed immense promise with an endurance win and a pole position at Bathurst, it was clear that the car was still in early development and up against tough established rivals. The A9X's true dominance was still yet to come. In March 1978, the Holden LX Torana was superseded by the UC series. This new iteration featured softer, more rounded styling and crucially lacked a V8 engine option. This strategic shift caused many Holden enthusiasts to abandon the Torana and instead move over to the upcoming VB Commodore for their performance needs. The removal of a V8 option vividly demonstrates the critical role a hero car plays within a model lineup. Without a high performance variant, the Torana struggled to retain its market appeal and would ultimately go on to be discontinued. However, back in racing, the A9X was still running and causing a stir. By early 1978, the Holden dealer team had undergone significant changes, positioning them for a formidable year. John Shepherd had taken over the reins as manager following Harry Firth's retirement. Then on February 5th, 1978, Peter Brock made his highly anticipated return to the factory team after 3 years as a privateer, which coincided with the A9X being significantly improved and sorted out during the off-season period and setting the stage for a dominant performance. On March 26, 1978, at Oran Park, Peter Brock once again demonstrated the A9X's formidable performance, notably pushing the car hard and achieving a first place for HDT. This continued to solidify the A9X's reputation as a dominant force in Australian touring car racing, showcasing its raw power and Brock's exceptional skill, even as the model neared the end of its competition life. The 1978 Australian Touring Car Championship, or ATCC, contested over 8 rounds, concluded at Adelaide International Raceway, South Australia, on August 6, 1978. This championship marked the arrival of the Holden A9X as a dominant force in Australian touring car racing. Even though that last race was won by Colin Bond in a Ford XC Falcon, Peter Brock, back with the Marlborough Holden dealer team and driving his iconic number 5 A9X, secured the overall championship title. Throughout the season, the A9X consistently proved to be in a class of its own, outpacing rivals and demonstrating its superior handling and performance, thus setting a stage for an even more more dominant run in the subsequent year. Run on September 10th, 1978 at Sandown Park Circuit in Victoria, Australia, the 1978 Hang 10 400 was another triumph for the A9X, underscoring its endurance capabilities, with Peter Brock and Jim Richards driving the number 5 Holden dealer team A9X. Securing a comfortable victory, finishing a lap ahead of their closest competitor, the race was a clean sweep for the A9X, with the top 5 finishers all being A9Xs, highlighting the model's exceptional reliability and performance in long distance events, and serving as a preview for their upcoming success at Bathurst. On October the 1st, 1978, at Mount Panorama for the 1978 Hardy-Frodo 1000, Peter Brock claimed his third Bathurst 1000 victory, partnered with Jim Richards in their A9X hatchback. This win was a significant milestone which cemented the A9X's place in Australian motorsport history. The Brock-Richards A9X dominated this event, securing a comfortable one-lap victory over the second-placed A9X of Alan Grice and John Leffler, showcasing its capability to handle the grueling demands of the Mount Panorama circuit, while Murray Carter and Graham Lawrence provided Ford with a podium finish in their XC. The A9X's undeniable dominance over Ford's XC Falcon R-Top ultimately prompted Ford's official factory withdrawal from touring car racing at the close of 1978, a direct consequence of the A9X's strong performance in the 1978 ATCC and at Bathurst. This meant that established teams like Alan Moffat Racing would now have to continue as privateers. The 1979 Hang 10 400 was held on September 9, 1979 at Sandown Park Circuit. This event also served as a crucial lead-up to the prestigious Bathurst 1000 and was one round of the 1979 Australian Championship of Makes. The race saw dominant performance by the Marlborough Holden dealer team with their formidable A9X hatchbacks. Peter Brock, sharing the iconic number 5 Torana with Jim Richards, secured a resounding victory over the 129-lap 401km race. The A9X's victory underscored Holden's strong position in Australian touring car racing and further cemented the legend of Peter Brock. The Hardy-Frodo 1000 at Bathurst on September 30th remains one of the most dominant performances for the A9X in touring car history. Peter Brock, in his HDT A9X, set the fastest practice time, securing pole position with a blistering 2 minutes and 20.5 second qualifying lap. He and co-driver Jim Richards then led every single one of the 163 laps, ultimately finishing a record 6 laps ahead of the second placed A9X, driven by Peter Jansen and Larry Perkins. To cap off this unparalleled display, Brock set a new lap record of 2 minutes 21.1 seconds on his final lap, in a true testament to the A9X's supremacy. The 1979 Hardy-Frodo 1000 also saw an unprecedented A9X sweep, with Toranas dominating the race and filling the first 8 positions. However, this very dominance created a unique situation for Holden. By the end of 1979, the A9X's success had become so profound it raised concerns for the overall health and competitiveness of the Touring Car Championship itself. Throughout this period, the Holden dealer team's 2 factory A9X hatchbacks, piloted by Peter Brock and John Harvey, were strongly complemented by a robust field of well-prepared privateer A9Xs. This contingent included top drivers such as Bob Morris of Ron Hodgson Racing, who notably clinched the 1979 Australian Touring Car Championship, and Alan Grice of Craven Mould Racing, who secured second place at Bathurst that year. The 1979 ATCC itself was an 8-round championship held across various Australian circuits, culminating in the decisive final round at Adelaide International Raceway on July 1979, where Bob Morris ultimately secured his championship title, followed by Peter Brock and John Harvey. The A9X stands as the most successful Australian touring car ever released by Holden. Its achievements remain unmatched by any other Australian motor car. By the end of 1979, the A9X Torana had become virtually unbeatable in touring car racing as the first truly homologated, designed purpose-built for motor racing. By the close of 1979, Holden acknowledged that the A9X's overwhelming superiority was detrimental to the overall health of touring car racing. This, coupled with Ford's factory withdrawal from the sport at the end of 1978, led Holden to believe there was no longer a compelling reason to compete solely against privateer Holden entries. Consequently, despite the team's immense success, Holden made a surprising decision to withdraw support for the Holden dealer team and put it up for sale at the start of 1980, stating that Holden had achieved a position where it has tended to dominate the sport and was primarily competing against private entrants driving our vehicles. Although the Group C regulations under which the A9X competed persisted beyond 1979 and on until 1984. Holden had already begun shifting its factory support towards the new VB Commodore for the 1980 season, but to keep the flag flying, some individual A9X cars were known to compete through the 1981, 1982 and 1983 seasons in various sports sedan and Group C races. Although this now brings us to the end of the line for the LX Torana, Australian company Drive South have plans to revive the 1970s Holden LX Torana hatchback, utilising modern manufacturing methods. These models will feature a fiberglass composite body on an aluminium chassis with 95% of components made in Australia, powered by a 6.2 litre LS3 V8 giving 325 kilowatts and sourced from GM Performance, paired with either a 6-speed auto or manual driving via a 9-inch limited slip diff. Andrew South, the man behind Drive South, with a motorsport background, aims for 100 road legal vehicles annually under the low volume manufacturer rules, with plans for racing to aid development and marketing. Modern amenities like air conditioning and power steering will be included, and giving it an estimated price of around 250,000 Australian dollars. Between February 1976 and March 1978, production of the LX Torana was domestic 62,110 units, export completely built up or CBU 121 units, export completely knocked down kits or CKD 3,744 units, total hatchback production all trims 8,527 units, total SLR 5000 A9X production 305 units, total SS A9X production 100 units, total A9X GMP and A competition shells only 52 units, which breaks down to 11 sedans and 41 hatchbacks. Finally, total Sunbird production 16,075 units. The Holden LX Torana marked a pivotal moment in Australian automotive history. Its diverse range from base S to versatile SL and potent SS and SLR, plus the A9X, coupled with radial tuned suspension, cemented its place as a significant evolution in Holden's lineup. But undoubtedly, the crown jewel of the LX Torana range, and indeed Australian motorsport, was the A9X, born purely for the track, yet compliant for the road. This machine represented the absolute pinnacle of the Torana's development. Its relentless dominance at Bathurst culminated in an unforgettable 1979 performance, etched the A9X into legend. It wasn't just a car, it was a symbol of Australian engineering prowess and Peter Brock's unparalleled mastery behind the wheel. Ultimately, the LX Torana, and especially the A9X, embodies an era of raw, exciting and uniquely Australian performance cars. It's a testament to a time when racing success directly influenced what you could drive home, leaving an indelible mark on our automotive culture. If you enjoyed this look at a true Aussie icon, why don't you share your favourite LX or A9X memory in the comments below.